What would happen if the sun suddenly disappeared right now? This is one of those questions that sounds like science fiction, but it's worth asking. Because the sun isn't just the bright ball we see in the sky. It's the source of almost everything that makes life on Earth possible. But what if, in an instant, it simply vanished? This is the problem. The sun holds the solar system together. Its gravity keeps the planets in their orbits, and its energy sustains all life. Without it, everything we know would change. But how fast would those changes happen? And how bad would they be? Let's start with the first moments. If the sun disappeared right now, you wouldn't notice immediately. Light from the sun takes about 8 minutes and 20 seconds to travel the 93 million miles to Earth. That means, for a little more than 8 minutes, the sky would look completely normal. The sun would shine, birds would chirp, and you would have no idea that anything had happened. But then, everything would go dark. It would be like someone switched off a light in a room. The sun would vanish from the sky, and the Earth would be plunged into complete darkness. The moon, which only shines because it reflects sunlight, would also go black. Stars would fill the night sky, but there would be no familiar sunrise to look forward to. And this is where the agitation begins. Because the loss of light is only the beginning. The sun's gravity is what holds the planets in orbit. Without it, Earth and the other planets would continue moving in a straight line, flying off into space. We wouldn't spiral toward the sun's former location. We'd simply drift away. Within hours, temperatures on Earth would start to drop. Right now, the average surface temperature of the planet is about 59 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 degrees Celsius. Without sunlight, that temperature would start to fall rapidly. Within a week, the average temperature could drop to around 0 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 17 degrees Celsius. Oceans would begin to freeze around the edges. Crops would fail almost immediately because photosynthesis, the process plants use to make food, requires sunlight. Within a year, the average temperature could reach minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 73 degrees Celsius. By this point, almost all life on the surface would be dead. Oceans would be frozen solid on top, though liquid water might still exist in the deepest layers. But there is one more consequence to consider: energy. The sun's energy drives weather patterns on Earth. Without it, winds would stop, rain would cease, and the atmosphere would become still. And even worse, the sun's energy powers the biosphere, the entire network of life. Without sunlight, the food chain would collapse. Plants would die first, followed by herbivores and then predators. So, how long could humans survive? The short answer is, not long. We rely on the sun for warmth, food, and energy. Even with our technology, we're not prepared for an Earth without sunlight. We could try to survive underground or in sealed environments powered by nuclear energy or geothermal heat, but the population would shrink dramatically. There are real-world examples that help us imagine this scenario. Consider the nuclear winter hypothesis. Scientists have studied what would happen if enough dust and debris from nuclear explosions or massive volcanic eruptions blocked sunlight from reaching Earth. In these models, temperatures drop sharply, plants die, and ecosystems collapse, even though the sun is still present but obscured. In 1815, the eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia threw so much ash into the atmosphere that global temperatures dropped by several degrees. The following year, 1816, became known as the Year Without a Summer. Crops failed across Europe and North America, and famine spread. If a single volcanic eruption could cause that much damage, imagine the impact of losing the sun entirely. And there's one more problem. Without the sun's gravity, Earth would drift through the galaxy aimlessly. We could eventually collide with another planet or star, or we might just drift forever in the freezing emptiness of space. Now let's look at the solution, or at least the path forward. The truth is, if the sun vanished, there would be no real way to solve the problem. Humanity could only try to adapt for as long as possible. Our best chance would be to move underground, where temperatures would be more stable, or to environments with natural heat sources. Geothermal energy from the Earth's core could provide warmth and power. Nuclear reactors could supply electricity for as long as their fuel lasts. Some scientists believe that life could continue in the deep oceans, near hydrothermal vents. These vents release heat and minerals from the Earth's interior, and unique ecosystems already exist around them. But these solutions would only work for a fraction of the planet's population. If the sun truly disappeared, life on Earth would be living on borrowed time. However, there's one bit of good news. The sun is not going to disappear. Stars don't just vanish. They die in predictable ways, and our sun is a relatively stable star. Scientists estimate it has about 5 billion years of life left before it expands into a red giant and eventually collapses into a white dwarf. But asking what-if questions like this one can teach us something important. It reminds us of how dependent we are on the sun. Every meal you eat, every breath you take, and every moment of life you experience is possible because the sun is there. It also reminds us that life is fragile. We take daylight for granted, but it's not guaranteed. The sun could never vanish in an instant, but other catastrophic events like asteroid impacts or supervolcanic eruptions could disrupt life on Earth. Thinking about these possibilities can motivate us to prepare for disasters, invest in technology, and protect our planet. And there's a deeper lesson too, because when we think about losing the sun, we realize how much we rely on the things we cannot control. We cannot control the sun. We cannot control the orbit of the planet, but we can control how we treat the time we do have. So, what would happen if the sun suddenly disappeared? Earth would go dark, temperatures would plunge, life as we know it would end. But as you sit here reading this, the sun is still shining. It will rise tomorrow. And that is something worth remembering. Because the real question isn't, what would happen if the sun disappeared? The real question is, what will you do with the sunlight you have now?